You got to hand it to Kevin Rudd. He has got, well, there's no other way of putting it, balls. This bloke is unbelievable. He's got, as my dad would say, more front than mire. This bloke has now announced that there's going to be major party reforms to the Labor Party, where the only way that you'll be able to decide who the parliamentary leader of the Labor Party is with a vote. Not just of MPs run by the faceless men and the unions, but also by a vote of all members of the party, root and branch. So the smallest regional member of the party will have the same say as your local MP. It'll be a 50-50 run. Now, that's all about essentially being able to brick himself into the leadership for all time. It's very kind of Kevin Rudd to do this, to change the rules so, in his words, no one's able to come up to you in the middle of the day or the middle of the night and said, that's it, you're done, just as what happened to him. Now, most people would say, OK, that's righting a wrong, because after all, Kevin Rudd should never have been cut down by that evil Julia Gillard. The only problem is, the reason I say the bloke's got a pair is because it's 2 weeks since he did the same. It's 2 weeks since Kevin Rudd himself, with the help of the faceless men, and he put some of them back into the cabinet. Remember the whole Bill Shorten nonsense just before the vote for leadership? They needed them to flip. Kevin Rudd needed the faceless men. Kevin Rudd needed the unions. Kevin Rudd needed the factional leaders to knock off Julia Gillard. And just in the same way that it was wrong for Kevin Rudd, the democratically elected Prime Minister in 2007, to be knocked off by the unelected Julia Gillard, it was wrong for Kevin Rudd to knock off the unelected, to knock off the duly elected Julia Gillard. And also, when we're talking about leadership changes, perhaps Kevin Rudd, who I thought was a student of history, may well want to look back at the record books here. You see, they were going to lose Labor in 1993. The only reason they were able to win the 1993 election was because Keating was able to knock over Hawke. Rightly or wrongly, the result was obvious. Keating ended up winning. The only reason they were able to just sort of win in 2010 was because Gillard replaced Rudd. And the only reason why Kevin Rudd seems to be flying pretty at the moment and may well go very close in the next election is because he dumped Julia Gillard. So help me out. While Kevin Rudd wants to reform the system and guarantee that the root and branch members have their opportunity to have their say, the bloke is one heck of a walking hypocrite. But it doesn't seem to matter. The Morgan poll today says that the Labor Party is now in front, not just 50-50 like Nielsen or also the News poll. But there was one line that I completely agree with Kevin Rudd about. When Kevin Rudd said today, and he was talking about members of the ALP, that the people should have their say. Prime Minister, I completely agree. You know, there's a way that 23 million people could have their say. It's called an election. And I know that you'd like to do us all a favour and give us nothing to do on Saturdays until 2224. But still, we've got an election. Let's have one, and have one sooner rather than later. Regardless of the result, it's time for the people to have their say, not just people who are members of the Labor Party. What a pair that man has.